Hello everyone and welcome to 24th Lucknow MuleSoft Meetup. So the topic for our today's discussions is error handling in Mule 4 and the topic will be presented by Abhishek Dhakar. So before we start, some safe harbor statement. So both the speaker, Abhishek, go to, yeah. Both the speaker and the host are organizing this meetup in individual capacity only. We are not representing our companies here. This presentation is strictly for learning purpose only. Organizer or presenter do not hold any responsibility that same solution will work for your business requirement. This presentation is not meant for any promotional activities. Some housekeeping. So the recording of this meetup will be shared in the meetup page within 24 hours. Even it won't take 24 hours. Today itself, we will be doing that. If you have any questions, we have given mic access to all of you. So just feel free to unmute and ask your question, and we can have a healthy discussion. Just not let us keep it only the speaker or the presenter or the organizer speaking and rest are quiet. Let's make it more interactive. And once the meetup is done, you will get a feedback form. So we request you to please fill up the feedback form and share where you can talk about how you like the meetup, how you like the organization, uh, and what topic you want. Okay, so that we can present in the next meetup. Uh, Thank you. So Akib and me, we are the organizer, but we are just keeping our introduction. So Abhishek, the stage is all yours. Please introduce and start with your agenda.
Yeah, thank you, Abhishek. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the meetup where we are going to discuss about error handling in Mule 4. So, my name is Abhishek. I am a senior lead engineer at Epicero. I'm certified MuleSoft developer, having more than 6 years of experience. Yeah, let's start with the agenda. So, in today's meetup, we are going to discuss about basics of error handling. What is error? How we can handle error in Mule, error handling components, and some custom errors and raise error component in Mule. So let's start with first error handling fundamentals. So there are two types of first one is what is error. So error is any undesirable state or condition where our program behaves abnormal or it terminates. um, Say we are hitting one endpoint, we are expecting a response, but unexpectedly we got some another some error, and our further processing stops. So that condition, we say it as a error condition or error scenario. So there are two types of error scenarios: system error and messaging error. System errors are errors that occurs outside Mule flow when no Mule events are involved. These are usually issues with deployment or malformed code or any such errors. So consider we are writing some data view, or we are writing some code in Mule, and in some component few fields are mandatory. If we are not providing those fields, and if we are trying to deploy the application, application deployment will fail. In those errors can be classified as system errors. Messaging errors are messaging errors that happen within the flow when there is some kind of processing issue. So when like the scenario I explained earlier, so um, we are expecting a response, and based on that response we are going to act certainly, but the response which we got, that is kind of uncertain, and we have our code is not prepared for that response, and code terminate abruptly. That is kind of messaging error, where application got deployed, but while running the application it failed. So this type of errors create error object, and that can be handled. So let's move forward. Then what is error handling? Error handling is a scenario where our code is prepared for any abnormal behavior while running the code. Errors are kind of fault in the code that cause the code to behave unexpectedly. Error handling is a responding to and recovering from that error. Error handling help to end users to code the use correctly. Later we can provide a report of exactly how the bug occurred and how we can fix it. So this is all the part of error handling. So coming to the error object, there are total five components in error object: description, type, cause, message, and child error. Mainly when we report the error or when we log the error, we focus only on two types, which is highlighted in the gray: description and type. Description is about the regarding the problem, what is about brief in the in one line. And the type, what type of error, we will discuss more about the type in upcoming slides. So if we want a description component, we can use error dot description, and if we need type, we can use error dot type. Similarly, we will see the error object also in Mule, what and we will go through this thoroughly. So let's come to the Mule now. So there are two types of error handling scopes in Mule. We have on error propagate and on error continue. So in the diagram, we have given some pictorial view how we can easily understand the behavior. So let's start with on error propagate. So on error propagates the error to the next level and break the owner's execution. So when on when inside the on error propagate, when it occurs, so it closes or it stops the current execution of the flow, and it reports the error, processes the error message with and rethrows the error to the parent flow. No further processing is done on that particular flow. So when consider the flow where we have on error propagate, and now when there is error occurred and it goes to on error propagate scope. So it's a scenario where we are having the error going to on error propagate, which is read in. And since on error propagate throws the error to the current flow, so it is a read out. So we can relate on error propagate as a read in read out, where error is going in on error propagate scope. We are performing some action and we are throwing the error back to the main flow or the listener. Opposite to that, then next to that we have on error continue. uh, if we don't want to stop the flow processing, even if error has occurred, and catches the error, do not report it as the error and continue the flow processing. So when error occurs, which is read in inside the on error continue, we will perform some action or activity, and we will throw back as a success response, which is green out. So we can relate it as read in green out. So to summarize this, on error propagate, which is read in read out, error is coming in, error will go out. On error continue, will error will come in, we will handle that error, and we will give it is as a success response to the same flow, which is green out. So it is read in green out.
Wait, Abhishek. So just make it more simple. Like when we use on or propagate. So basically, if you're aware of the MuleSoft flow, so if we have on air propagate, then that will stop your flow and you will get an error response. Okay. But when it is on air continuous, even though you got an error, your flow will not stop. Okay. It may go to the next execution and it will be going to give you a success response. Yeah. Move forward.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
we have one question also, Abhishek, from
Yeah. Mosmi is asking what is a child error?
Okay, so child error, mainly an optional collection of inner errors. So we will go through it mostly in details. Used by the elements like scatter gather to provide the aggregated route errors. So when the parent error occurs, we can expand or we can go in the hierarchy level to the to deep dive into the root cause of that error. So those error can be classified as a child errors.
Yeah, Mosmi. So we'll discuss more on that moving further. So you are asking to go on the previous slide. Which one you are talking about? This particular one?
Yeah, this one. Just a minute. I just wanted to simplify. Like for validation invalid boolean, there is a parent like validation. So are we talking about child error is the validation invalid boolean? Is it the
Uh,
child one or something different is there?
I think, yeah, that is a child one, where we
Okay.
will get the total hierarchy of the parent error.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Fine. Thank you.
thank you. So let's go with the simple component flow examples. So for this meetup, we are just keeping it short and simple. So we have this is the kind of simple example where we have a listener. We are having the set payload where we are setting it success payload as a success started flow. Then we have a is number, which is a validation component, and then we have a set payload at the next to the validation component, which is success finished flow, where we are setting the payload in the first set payload. In the validation component, we are validating the payload if payload is number or not. So let's go back to, so this is example, and then we have on error propagate. Like Abhishek said, um, this is the scenario where error occurs. So if you see over here, we have a set payload where we are setting it as a string. Now we are checking whether the payload is a number or not. Since we have set it as a string, this will fail. It will go to on error propagate. In on error propagate, we are setting the payload again like error main flow, and since it is on error propagate, it will stop the execution of current flow, and it will throw back the error to the uh, main parent flow or the source system, and uh, it will not continue further processing. So that's why the set payload, which is the finished flow set payload, that will not get execute. So let's check that. Uh, I'll I'll debug the application. So over here we have a listener. I want to I want to go back to some properties of listener. So if okay, so it's getting deployed, and now if we go to the listener properties, we have a responses section where by default for any listener we have a response body and error response body. So when you drag and drop listener to the workspace, you can see over here by default we will be having the text plane, and it will only describe the error description. And if we go to the status code, we will not be having the any value. So when we are setting a payload, by default it will just log the error description. So we have hit it. We have host as a local host. Port is 8081. The request came to set payload. If we If we go next, now it came to is number, and it terminated the flow because this validation got failed. And if we check the response, we are getting um, 500 server error because we have not handled that flow, and we are getting error dot description. Now if we change the responses to output JSON as a payload and status code was dot default 500.
Abhishek, it should be output application JSON.
Yeah, but
Okay.
JSON will also work. So if we are having on error propagate, so this is default error handler where we don't have any. And now if the request and if it fails, we will see how it behaves.
And by default, MuleSoft 4 uses on error propagate.
Yes. So again again request came. We'll we'll move forward, and now it fails and it went to the default error handler. And now if you see, we are getting 500 error response HTTP error code, but now we are getting a proper error message, success started flow, because it is setting the payload, and in error handler we are not performing any action. Now let me drag and drop on error propagate to the error handling flow, and we will do the set payload. So in on error propagate scope, we can perform any activity over here. Just for a learning purpose, I'm just setting the payload. It will redeploy the application, and when the request will come, it will go to on error propagate instead of going to the Mule default error handler, since we have defined it on the,
Flow level.
yeah. So it came to over here, it will fail, it will go to, now it came to on error propagate, and now we have the set payload, and now we can see we got the payload as a error on error propagate with 500 error message. So this is for on error propagate.
Uh,
Then we have,
Abhishek, maybe you can show them like what all things we can see in that error, like the components, what are there.
okay, sure. So let me add one breakpoint, and
And we have one question from Rajiv Abhishek. I think he's asking about why it was success payload.
It was the older one, Rajiv, when
Correct.
the
Correct.
flow level on air propagate was not used. So the payload
so
which we have set, one, so the payload which we set before that was that success payload thing. Okay, that's why it was coming even though it was an error, because in the body of the error we were setting as a payload. That's why. Yeah,
okay,
Abhishek.
so this is the error object, where we have the description, detailed description, error type, errors, and exception. So Rajiv, answer to your question, it was here in the description. If you see, this is a default um, Mule message which is coming when we are having the validation component error out. So this is the default Mule message. Um, so
Default, Abhishek, can you open that validation component?
Yes.
Yeah, validation component is number.
Yeah, it's
Can we
this.
override this message, right, or not?
Yes, we can
Yeah,
override. We have this
correct.
option, error option,
Mhm.
where we can write down the message. So over here, we have a description, detailed description. If we expand the error type, we have this error type as a validation invalid number, where namespace identifier, which we are going to discuss. Then we have a parent error type, and then it will expand. So we can go deep and deep. So this is how we can see the entire hierarchy of the error, where the parent, which we are going to discuss, parent is any. Then in the error exception, we can see what are the types of exception we have, and we can see all the detail about this error. So now if we replace this on error propagate to on error continue, I'll delete this propagate component, and then I'll save this application. Meanwhile, it gets deployed. I'll just uncomment the next page. I have commented this page just to make deployment faster.
Don't do it now, no? Then again it will start.
Yeah, I'm not saving it. I'm just
Okay.
undeploying it. So yeah, now we have a on error continue flow, and if we hit it, so request payload came, it will go for the validation. Now it came to on error continue, and since we have seen the on error continuous properties, it will give back the payload as a success response. So if I finish, we can see we got the 200 http code with message error on error continue. So this set payload, we got that as a response with 200 response, 200 http code. So this is about the on error continue. So like we see, on error continue when the request comes, and it if it is fails from any component, it will skip the current processing of the flow. It will go to error handler. It will set, it will perform that operation, and it will give a response back as a success response. So it is red in, green out. So we have seen the error handling levels as a first. We have seen default error handling.
Yeah,
Now
Abhishek,
we
sorry for the interruption. This is Ashwin. I have a quick question. Can you go back to the previous screen, if you don't mind?
yeah,
No, not to your Anypoint Studio.
okay.
Um, yeah, go to the graphical view. Yeah. So here in the on error continue or on error propagate, should we not mention or add the error type here?
Yeah, so this part I'm going to cover. So if we are not adding any error type, by default it's any. What are the types of error that we are going to cover later on? But yeah, if you are not specifying it, by default it's a type of any.
Okay.
So if I click on search, if I click on any, so it will come like this. So you can see a type over here. But if even if we are not specifying, uh, in the backend it is coming, it is treating as a any. So it will handle all type of error.
All right. Okay.
Is that
Thank you.
answer your question, Ashwin?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. So on error propagate, on error continue, we have seen error handling levels. So far we have seen default error handling, where when error handling was not present, it will go to Mule default error handler, and the behavior of Mule default error handler, it's like on error propagate, read in, read out. So whatever the error message set by the Mule default error handler, that we can see. Then now coming to the global error handler. So what is global error handler? Global error handler or application level handler, we can say, where we are having we will be having the error handler in our application level instead of having in the flow level. To handle the error in each and every flow, we can have one separate error handler, which is a master of all the error handler, we can say, but which is below Mule default error handler, which so we can call it as a global error handler. So in global error handler, um, if we see, so first thing we need to do is we can drag and drop error handler component to our page, to our workspace, um, and then we can set it up. We can specify what type of error we need to handle. That we will cover later on again. Currently, we are handling with on error propagate and set payload. Once we declare our global error handler, we need to go to configuration, and over here we need to create we need to specify default error handler as a global error handler. So sometimes if you are creating multiple global error handler, in the drop down you can see multiple options, and you can select whichever you want. Then so what will happen in this case when the request comes and any error occurred? Now we don't have any flow level error handler, so it will go to the next level. So it will check for global error handler, and since global error handler is present, the processor will not go to Mule default error handler, and it will process as per the logic we have defined in the global error handler. So we have this endpoint. So in global error handler, we have a two again we have a two scenarios. If we are having on error propagate and on error continue, the behavior is same as flow level error handler, where if the error comes, it will go to instead of going to flow level error handler, it will go to global error handler, since we don't have flow level error handler. And then depending on the on error propagate, it will set the payload, and since it is propagate, it will throw error back to the source system. So it's again read in, read out. The behavior is same. Further processing of the flow will stop. In on error continue, it will go as a read in, and since it will give us a success response HTTP code, so it will be like a 200 response back. So let's check that. Okay, I don't have breakpoint. So request came came over here. Now I'm moving one step. So it went to global error handler on error propagate. We can see all the error object over here, like we checked earlier. And now if I'm finishing it, the behavior is same. We are getting 500 error message. It stops further processing, and we are getting the error message, global error handler, which we have set it over here. Now if I'm replacing it with on error continue, so generally for all the application level, the best practice is to specify global error handler, where it will be capable to handle all errors in application. Also on the top of that, if we require to handle certain errors, which we don't want to handle in global error handler. In that case, we go to the flow level error handler. So on error continue application got deployed, and so now the request will come from here with the validation component. It will fail, it will stop further processing of the flow, it will go to global error handler. Since this is on error continue, it will throw back a success response to the source system. Let's test that. It came to on error continue, and since we have not specified any error type over here, so by default it's any, and it will handle all type of errors in the flow. So if we check the response, we are getting 200 with global error handler with HTTP status code 200. So is that part again clear to everyone? Okay, I'm considering it as a yes. Then next we have a flow level error handler.
Uh, Sorry to interrupt, Abhishek. Before you go to this, I just want to put one point. Can you go to your studio?
Yes.
I'm not sure if you'll cover this, but there is a concept of reference. Okay, so if you open that error handling for the main flow, there is error handling. Can you expand it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So see, you can find a reference over there. So this is now, suppose you have defined some error handlers, okay, which you don't want to make as a global. You don't want the error handling to be used by different or all of your other flows. So you can define a particular error handling over here. Okay. So like you can see there is an option for global error handling. So instead of defining in the global element for global, like making it as a global, you can define to this particular main flow or your private flow, so that this particular, like wherever you define the reference, that particular flow will be using that particular error handling. So that is also a concept which is very frequently used whenever we create our flows.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Abhishek. So now we will move forward with the flow level error handling. So in flow level error handling, we have a two flows where we have main flow and child flow. Main flow is calling a child flow with from the flow reference. In child flow, we have a validation component, and now if the child flow throws error, how we can handle that error in the main flow, that we will see. So over here, if we want our main flow to continue processing even if the child flow fails, in that case we should use on error continue. So how the flow will be: from the main flow it will go to reference flow, and in the reference flow we have a validation component which will fail. So it will go to the flow level error handler of child flow, and since we have used on error continue, it will stop further processing of the child flow. It will give us response back as a success response to the parent flow with the set with the proper payload. Um, and the parent flow will treat it as a success response processed in the child flow. That's why the processing will continue, and we will get a success response to the source system. So at the end of the this execution, we will get a payload as a success finished main flow, because the parent flow is getting 200 HTTP status code as a child flow process successfully, even though it failed because of uh, validation error, and that we have handled successfully with the help of on error continue. So the flow is same over here. We have on error continue with set payload as a error subflow, and set payload after the flow reference we have success finished flow.
Okay, so Abhishek, let's before you do this, let's ask the audience like what should be the output for this particular condition. Maybe you can speak up or you can put it on chat.
Success finish flow.
Maybe you can expand a little bit this
Yeah.
one so that all
Okay,
can.
Abhishek, I want to try.
Yeah, yeah, please, sure.
Yeah. So from the main flow, it starts and then it will print success started flow,
Hmm,
and then it will jump to the reference flow, that is
hmm,
the child flow,
hmm,
and the validation. If it fails,
hmm,
the control will go to on error continue.
hmm.
Continue will throw 200
Okay,
success.
okay.
So it won't print success finished subflow. Okay, it will go to main flow and then print the next one, that is success finished. What is it? Finished flow.
Success finish flow.
Yeah.
Okay, so Rajiv is saying success finish flow. Shiv is saying success finish flow. What about others?
Success finish flow.
Okay, okay. So all of you are saying success finish flow.
Yeah,
Okay,
success finish flow.
okay, Abhishek. Let's try now.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Debug it.
It came to validation. Now it goes in continue. And yes, audience is right. We have a set payload where we are getting success finish flow.
Success finish flow. Correct. But it's a set payload. That's why it is giving us a success finish flow. Correct. Because we have a set payload of that one. Great. So, so anyone who is preparing for your MCD1, so this error handling part is very important to you because this kind of question you will be getting in your exam. Yeah. Thank you everyone for answering. Let's try the next one then. Yep.
So anybody wants to uh,
Give it a try now.
give a try?
Yeah. Now we have on error propagate and we are doing the same kind of scenario. So what should be the output now?
I
So
can
can
try,
you?
but I would like to give others opportunity.
Sure, sure, sure. Expand it little bit, Abhishek. We can't see what is written for the on air propagate part. Yeah. So now, other people, do you want to try? What should be the output for this particular thing?
Error subflow.
Sorry,
Error subflow.
error subflow. Okay, you're saying error subflow. Uh, others, anyone else want to try? Okay, Shudesh is saying error subflow. Fine. Mm, do we have default error handler? Shiva, we are using a private flow with that error handling. Okay,
So Shiv, we don't have default error handler currently.
in
What
this
do you mean
particular
by
scenario.
yeah, in this scenario we don't have. Are you saying global error handler or mule default error handler?
What he mean is for the main flow, he might be saying about the default error handling thing.
No, currently we don't have.
Okay, so okay, let me try them.
Yes, Rajiv, sure.
Okay, so from the main flow it starts and then it will print success started flow, and
Correct.
then from reference it will jump to child flow. In case error, is number will throw error, so it will go to propagate and print error subflow.
Hmm,
And then since it's propagate, it will throw 500 status
hmm,
to the main flow, and
hmm,
it won't proceed further because
hmm.
500 won't let main flow to proceed
Mid
further.
flow.
It will
Correct.
go back to the listener, not listener. It will go to the
Hmm,
error handling since there is no error handling for the main flow.
hmm.
So it will again go to the listener, and whatever is set in the error
Uh,
description, that will print.
correct. So, listener, can you show the listener once, Abhishek, what you have set for the error handling part?
Yeah.
Is it payload
So
or what?
so for all the listeners, we have set it as a output payload.
Payload. Okay.
Okay.
So we are
Yeah.
setting up payload. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah. So
whatever
mostly
is
we are
set in the
setting
payload
payload.
in the that is error subflow,
Okay.
so that will get
Okay.
printed.
Okay. Then let's try, Abhishek.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it came to on error propagate, and if we move one step, so it went and we are getting 500 error with errors of flow.
Subflow. So all of you are right. It is showing us errors of flow because this time it propagated. So it shows the payload what we have in the error handling. Great one.
Okay.
So this is how actually it happens. Like in the first one, you can see when we have used the maybe the global error handling or say the main flow level error handling. Okay, so even though it was continuous or it was propagate, okay, it you are getting the payload which was set in the error handling part. Okay, we can say that. But when it comes to a private flow where we have a flow reference and we are calling that, in that case for on air continuous it went to the next level. Even though there was an error, it came to the flow reference and it went to the next level. That means it was continuous, it didn't break the flow. Correct. But in case of error propagate, it behaved the same as it works for other, where it broke the flow and it gave you the output what was there in the error propagate. Okay, so this is how it differently work when you design it differently with respect to a flow lever or global air handling or a in a private flow thing. Yeah, Abhishek.
Thank you. So now the next scenario where again we have a flow level error handling in both parent and child flows. So okay, I think first we should give a try with audience what they what they think how it's going to behave, and then we will go with the uh,
Execution.
execution. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so
So
we have on air propagate in both the end. Fine. Yeah, Abhishek. Sorry.
no problem, Abhishek. So anybody wants to give a try?
Yep. Please give a try now. What you think? What should be the output now? Please feel free to speak up. Okay, anyone can try.
Even mean flow.
Error mean flow. Okay. So
It will be error main flow.
okay, all of them are saying error main flow. Okay,
Yeah, it will come
let's
an error main flow.
great. Yeah, Abhishek. So we can try now.
Okay. So let's check it out. It's went now it goes to the honor propagate, and from honor propagate it went to the parents error handler with and since this is honor propagate we are setting up and we got error main flow. Yeah. So
Right, with 500 error code. Cool.
yeah, and now again one previous scenario where we have honor continue over here.
Okay, so now anyone want to try what should be the output now? So in the main flow we have on air propagate. In the child flow we have on air continuous. So what should be the output now?
Success finishes.
It will print success finish flow.
Finish.
Success finish flow. Okay. Srinivas is saying error subflow. Okay. Suresh is success finished flow. I guess he's saying that. Okay. Anyone else wanna try? Success finish flow. Mosmi is saying. Okay. So majority is saying success finish flow. Let's have it a try, Abhishek.
Yeah. So if you go over there, okay, I have not covered that scenario in PPT, but yeah, I think how it will go from flow reference, it will go to child flow. In child flow, it will fail so that it will go to on error continue. And since continue will throw 200 HTTP response, which is success with the payload success main flow, it will go to parent flow as a success response, and since it is a success response it will continue to process further. It will go to sit this set payload and will get success finished flow. So let's try it out now. Oh, sorry, 1 minute. Let me hit it one more. So it came to error continue, and since it gave 200 response, so we got it's continued the processing and we got success finished flow.
Great. So one more scenario I want to give. Can you go back to the studio?
Yeah,
Now in the parent flow, you make it as on error continuous, and in child flow, you make it as on error propagate.
yeah.
Yeah. Now you tell me, people, like what will be the output now?
I
Error
believe
main
it will
flow.
be same success finish flow.
Success finish flow, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Arvind is saying error main flow. Suresh is saying error main flow. Okay. Try people.
It will get error main flow.
Also,
Error main flow.
can you explain what will be the HTTP status response status code?
It is payload, I think.
No, status code mostly.
200
Status
it will
code.
come.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe.
200.
Okay. Let me try the flow, like how it will work.
Okay.
Yeah. So from main flow, it will start and print success started flow, and
Correct.
then it will jump to child flow,
Hmm.
and the validation will fail. It
Hmm.
will go to on error propagate in the child flow,
Hmm.
and then it will print this error subflow
Hmm.
or set subflow.
Hmm.
Then uh, it will throw 500 you know status code
Error. Yep.
error, and
Hmm.
it will go to the main flow.
Hmm.
Since it is 500 error, it
Hmm.
will go to the error handling of the main flow, and it will
Correct.
set error main flow.
Hmm.
Okay, now since it's a on error continue,
Uh,
so it will throw back 200 success
200
to the
success.
flow,
Yeah.
and then it should print success finish flow.
Okay, you're saying that. Okay, let's see. So you are saying it will be 200 with success finish flow. The payload will
Yes,
be success finish flow. Okay,
right.
and a lot of other people are saying it should be error main flow. Let's see on that. Come on.
Okay,
Okay.
so it
Okay.
went to error continue.
Hmm.
Now it finished.
Okay. Now let's see what's the output. So it's
Oh,
error main flow with 200. See, Rajiv, I will say you why.
mhm.
So if you have seen the earlier scenario, when we have a flow level, okay, so you are getting an error to your main flow where it is coming from your flow reference. So flow reference is handling over there. So that is handled. It cannot go beyond that other part when it is a flow reference, or maybe whatever is there in the main flow. See, in the child flow, what happened? Even it was on air continuous to propagate. Is number validation is done. Then it came to on error error handling.
Oh, no,
Then
no, no.
it
Oh, okay,
throws back.
I got it. No, no, no,
Got it?
Abhishek. The thing is, yeah, yeah. So
Huh.
the thing is, from the main flow, if it is on error continue, still it
Hmm.
will not flow further, right? Continue will
Correct.
also
Yes.
break the execution. But yeah, in
Correct.
response, you will get 200. That's for
Yes.
sure. I think.
Yes. So in the same flow, even if you are getting a error, it is continuous or it is propagate, it won't go to the second one. It
Right,
can
right, right.
happen if you are using a flow reference or something like from somewhere else it is coming.
Hmm.
Okay, that's the point. That's why it is error main flow with 200, not the success finish flow.
Yeah, as
Great,
because
great.
it is rethrowing the error, so it is
Hmm.
not going to proceed further.
Correct. Yep.
Go to the error handling part
Error
of
handle.
it. So,
Yes. If it would be on air continuous in the child
yeah,
flow,
if it is
it should
on
have
error continue, then it will not
move
throw
forward.
rethrough the error, then it will
Yeah.
go further.
Yes. In one more way, you can see this scenario as instead of using that flow reference, if I use a try. In try, if I use a error handling, say on error continuous or on error propagate. Okay. So this is exactly a kind of scenario for that one. Okay. Instead of having this private flow, I can use a try in that flow reference part where I can have my components. And there, if I use on error continuous or propagate, it will behave the same way. Great participants, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you for participation. Yeah. Uh, so again, to summarize this one, on the flow where the error occurs, it will whether that is on error propagate or on error continue, it will stop further processing in that flow. And to the main flow, once it gets the response, it depends on the type of response. If it is 200 http code, then it will continue to process. If it is error scenario, so it will go to error handler. And in error handler, even if we are having on error continue or propagate, it will not process further. uh, as soon as it goes to error handler in any of the flows, in that particular flow, it will never come back to the main again to the main flow. uh, okay, so now next we have processor level error handler. So like Abhishek just said, we have a try-catch scope where where we can have our own separate error handling part, and then we will see how it goes. So try-catch scope is used where we want to handle the errors explicitly only for that specific component or the group of components which we include inside a try-catch. So if you see over here, we have a set payload in the validation component, which mainly caused or which has a probability to throw the error. And if we want to handle that error explicitly, instead of going that error into the um, error handling flow, so we can use try-catch scope. So we will see if we are having on error continue in try-catch scope, how the execution will be from it will go to validation component. Validation component will throw error, and now it will go to on error continue, which is the error handling part of try-catch scope. And since it is continue, the try-catch scope, you can treat it as a separate flow, which will give a response back as a 200 to the main flow, and it will process further. So let's check it out. So meanwhile, I'll comment this part. And meanwhile, if we check about the on error propagate, the behavior is again same like we demoed earlier. So you can treat, for the simplicity, you can treat it as a separate flow where once the request goes and it throws error, the main flow will treat it as an error, and it will go to it will throw back the error to the calling flows or the source system. It will stop processing further because of on error propagate. So over here we have a listener. Just to avoid the confusion, again I'm saying in the responses section we are setting as a payload only, and HTTP status code is equal to batch.status code default 500, and we have a try-catch scope with on error continue.
Okay, now let us ask again the audience about this. Like, just I have also explained, you have also explained. So, what will the output in this particular case?
It will say give success
Just
finished
finish flow.
Success finish flow. Okay,
with 200 okay response.
with 200. Okay, what others says success finish flow? Okay, anyone else? Rajiv, what you say?
Yeah, yeah. For me also success finish flow.
Success finish flow with 200.
Yeah, with 200.
Cool. Okay, Abhishek, let's try. Put a toggle point now.
Yeah, thank you. So processor has came, and now we are inside a try catch. It now it went into the on error continue, and Since it is continue, now we have set payload, and if we check the response, we have success finish flow with 200 HTTP status code. Cool. And now if we replace it with propagate, so can you guys give a try? What will be the output now?
Error try scope.
Can you show what is in the error handling of the main flow?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay. So error try scope.
Okay, error try scope
Mm,
with 500. Lots of
yes.
people are saying.
Okay, so let's test it. Processing ends, and now we have error try scope with 500 HTTP response. So yeah,
Great, great, great. So anyone want to have any modification on this? Have any questions on this type of scenario? Anyone have anything? No? Okay, cool. We can move
so
forward.
yeah, let's make a scenario where again
Yeah.
we have on error propagate. So can you guys give a try? What should be the output?
Yes, give it a try now. What should be the output now? What should be the
Error
status code
means
and what should be the payload?
Error
Yeah,
main
error means scope.
scope with 500.
error means scope with 500. Okay. Error means scope with 500. Mosme also saying,
So let's check. Now it came to error on error propagate, and from it came to the error handling flow level error handling with on error propagate, and now the response is error main scope.
"Hmm,
HTTP status code is 500.
great. So
Great
all of you
guys.
are right.
Okay, cool. So now we come to the next part where we are having handling specific error messages. So like I said earlier, we in this session, in this section, we are going to discuss about more into error types. So error type comprises of two components. So this is the example of error types where we have a colon as a separator. Before colon, we have a first part where which we say as a namespace, and after colon we say it as an identifier. So every error type has these two components, namespace and identifier. Namespace can be common for all the HTTP requester component, or when it comes to validation, the namespace of all the validation components, whether that is empty string or not, the namespace will be validation. We will get more clarity of that error by analyzing the identifier. So in case of boolean validation, we will get invalid boolean. If in case of is number, we will get invalid number as a identifier. So this is about the error type. So every error type has these two components, namespace and identifier. And now, like I said earlier, we have this hierarchy where error has a two part, can be handled general and critical. General error can be handled, critical error we cannot handle. This is because of any kind of error like server JVM memory overload, or server is unable to handle the request where a flow level processing is not involved. So that kind of errors we cannot handle. So those are unhandled exceptions. And handled errors has a parent of any, and in below the parent we have different types of hierarchy again, where we have transformation, routing, connectivity, expression, security, http and all. So in the connectivity hierarchy again we have a subcategory where we have retry, exhausted. In security we have client security and server security. um, so this is kind of normally hierarchy we use. So if we are specifying a parent hierarchy, it can handle all the error type, whether that is transformation or say any. But if we are specifying any explicit error type, which is http retry exhausted, or say http connectivity, so it will it will it will it will handle only of that type of error. It will not handle for say expression error happen. And if the type is http connectivity, that error handler will not handle that scenario. So this hierarchy we have explicitly to address specific scenarios in errors. This is the basic flow diagram of error, how error handled. So whenever there is error throw, we check the MuleSoft check if there is any error handler defined or not. If it is not defined, it will go to default error handler. If error handler is defined, it will check multiple type of error handler defined, or if it is a single type. If it is multiple type, then it will go to top to bottom hierarchy. Kindly note, it will always follow top to bottom hierarchy. uh, it will never go from the bottom to top. And if multiple error types are not defined, then it will go to again default error handler. Sorry, handle with the defined error handler. And now if we are when it goes to top to bottom, it checks whether the particular error type matches or not. If it is matches, it will handle that error with that operation. If it does not match, then it will go to default error handler. So is this flow understandable?
Yes.
Yes.
Any question on this? Okay, cool, thank you.
So Abhishek, one just comment, like why it is not looking for a best match, why it is going top to bottom. If I write any on the top, right, so then it won't go further below, right?
Yeah, that is correct. That's how the normal execution of flow happens. So, um, and that's how the error handler in any programming language works. So it give a try from the top to bottom. It checks all the error types, and if it is not matching to any of the error type, at last it will decide to handle with the parent error, which is any.
So Rajiv, just to add in this, you are aware of the if else condition, right?
Yeah, if else
If
I can understand,
yeah, so
but
this
since it
here
should
also it
follow
no
OOPS
no
concept,
here
right?
here also it is working in that way. So whenever you are defining the number of errors, so it works sequentially. Like it check for the first one, if this match, no, let's go to the second one. Else if this match, no, it goes to the third one. Else if this match, no, okay, nothing match, then it goes to the else condition. Okay, this is how it is done. But what you're talking about, like why it don't go to the specific one. Now if it is connectivity error, and you
Mm-hmm.
have got any at the first and connectivity at the last or second one, then also it will go to the any error, correct? So this is because any is satisfying that. Okay, but what you are talking, that can be done through a connector level or component level error mapping is there. okay, which we will talk about that. If you use that, then it will go to the exact match what you have defined in that connector level or component level mapping. Okay, maybe at the last I will we will define on that. Okay, but that is
Mhm.
possible, but you need to have some mapping to in your connector or component. But by default it is using that if else if condition.
Okay.
Yeah, Abhishek, you can
Yeah,
move.
thank you, Abhishek. So meanwhile, uh, yeah, let me just uncomment this. Yeah, so now, like we discussed about it, so in the main flow, when error occurs, and if we define the hierarchy of error, so it validates from the top to bottom. In the picture, you can see we have on error continue where we are having the error type as a maximum size exceeded. Then we have validation integer, validation number, and then we have a expression. So the processor will go from top to bottom. First, it will check the top one. If the error type is matching, no, then it will try for the next one. And error type matching, yes. So it will execute that one. And depending on whether that is on error propagate or on error continue, it will decide the further action. So that's how the normal hierarchy or it works. Also, want to highlight we if we want to have some kind of check again, even though if that is a validation number, but we want that validation, this error handler should execute for a specific condition. So we have the when condition, which you can see on the right side picture, where we can specify any condition. So that depends on the functionality to functionality or business requirement, what condition we need to specify. So like you can see over here, we have check whether the error cause dot message contains request unauthorized, or if you are setting up some if you are setting up some payload, that payload you can you can check whether it contains payload or not, then only we should execute this invalid validation number. So this extra check also we can perform. So let's come to the main flow. I'll add the breakpoint. So once we are hitting it, it comes to validation number, and if it throws error, it will check from top to bottom whichever the matching error type. So since currently there is no matching type, that's why it goes to directly error default error handler, and we are getting 500 propagate with success started flow, which we have set at the beginning of the flow. Okay, I'm redeploying the application because it was there was some extra configuration. Yeah, so application got redeployed. So now you can see the processor has came, and it's checking from top to bottom. And now you can see in the error type, we have a error type equal to validation invalid number, and since that error type is matching with this error type, so that's why it got handled successfully, and we will get the error message as error invalid number, which is correct, error invalid number. And since over here we have on error continue, that's why we are getting 200 error 200 status code. So hope this is clear to everyone, or let me know if you are having any questions on this. Okay, so since you don't have any question, so next we will first I'll make the change. I'll create a global first. So now where we have a flow level error handling also and global error handling also. I have set global error handling with on error propagate with a type any, and inside a flow level error handling we have specified all the types. And now um, yeah, so can you guys give a try what will happen in this scenario?
It won't go to the application level error handler.
We don't go to
Okay,
the global level error handling because flow level error handling is already there.
okay. Anybody having any other answer other than this?
So in the it will go to global only when there is no match in the main error handling.
Okay, fine. So we will come to that also, Rajiv. So let's check that currently. So we have in flow level error handling we have a validation invalid integer. So let's hit it. So yeah, correct. It came to flow level error handling, and now from here processor completed the processing, and we are getting invalid number with 200 HTTP. And now the scenario where we don't have a matching error type. Can you guys suggest? So Rajiv, can you give a try now again?
Yeah. So if there is no match, in the error handling above, then it will
Okay,
go to global error handling, and if there is a
okay,
match, then it will execute that. Otherwise, it will go to the default error handling.
okay. So um, now
If
can
there
you?
is no match, it will go to the Mule default error handler, but it will never go to the global level error handler.
Okay. Anybody having any other options?
Because when we add the flow level error handler, it never goes to the global level error handler.
Okay, we'll see. Okay, so let's hit it. So now cursor has come, or processor has comes to the validation component. If we move one step, since we don't have any matching error type, so it neither handled by the flow level and not handled by the flow level, neither handled by the um, global error handler. It directly went to the Mule default error handler, and the output is success flow started. Since in the Mule default error handler we cannot set a payload there, so that's why whatever the payload we have set earlier, that got propagate to the source system with the 500 HTTP code. So Rajiv, normally what happens if you define the flow level error handling and even if you have a global error handling, if it is not matching to the any of the data error type, it will never go to the mule default global error handler. If um, if you are defining the flow level error handling, if we don't have flow level error handling, then sure, uh, it will directly go to application level error handling. But in case you define, it will skip that and it will directly go to mule default error handler.
So in short, we can say the most priority is given to the default flow level error handling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and when we define the flow level, it will skip the global level. So Rajiv, is that clear to you?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And anyway, thank you for participation. Now, adding a little bit more complexity. So if what happens in this case, so now we have three level of error handling. We have a component level error handling, we have a flow level error handling, and we have a global error handler. Wants to give a try?
Do we
So
have a matching scope in the flow level?
So currently, if you see in the scope in the component level, we don't have. Okay, so let me explain the code. In the component level, we don't have any matching flow. We have a type as a mule expression. In flow level also, we don't have any matching flow, and in global level error handling, we have a would say any. So in component level and flow level, we don't have any matching scope, uh, but we have in global error handler. So what will happen in this case?
Again, mule default error handler.
Okay, so let's test it. Yeah, so cursor is not came to any of the error handler. It directly went to mule default error handler, and we got 500 HTTP code which success started flow, which we have set at very beginning. And now uh, this is the last scenario. What will happen now? So again, let me explain the code. We in the component level we have a matching scope. In flow level also we have a matching scope. In global level we have a type any. What will happen in this case?
Suresh is
Error by
telling
scope.
error by scope. Suresh is saying, anyone else want to try? What should be the output now? So we have a matching case both at flow level and the component level, and we have a default global error handling.
So error validation,
Sorry,
error validation at the flow level. That is the thing.
at the flow
Okay.
level. Okay. Anyone
Okay.
else? Mosmi, Rajiv.
Yeah,
We have
I
some.
believe it should go to flow level as well, because there is a on error propagate, so it has to go to uh,
The
main.
matching scenario.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
from
Yes.
handling it should print the flow level.
Okay. Anyone else wanna try? Other
Yeah,
people
flow
are not
level.
trying. Common people, all I can see. The same people are trying again and again.
For
Other
that,
people
your
not
call needs
interested.
mobile or Wi-Fi connection first.
Okay, let's try.
Okay, so it went to component level error handling because of matching scope, and this is on error propagate. So again, it goes to flow level error handling, and now even if it is on error propagate, uh, we are getting error validation with 500 error response. Cool.
So in short, even if we have a component which is matching the error handling in the component level, still it will go to the flow level if we have a matching one.
Yeah, and now what will happen in this case if we in the component level error handling, if we don't have a matching, whether it will go to default error handler or it will go to global error handler or it will go to flow error handler.
I think it should go to flow level again.
Okay,
It will go to the flow level error handler.
okay. So you are saying it the flow level and it it will not skip flow level error handler since it is not matching, since we don't have any matching type, and it will not go to global error handler, mule default error handler, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that is correct. So it will go to flow level error handler because of matching type, and then it will go. We are getting this error validation with 500 error response. So normally this kind of questions we get in MCD also, and if some people are preparing for interview, they this is the favorite area for the interview, where if we are having error handling in component level, flow level, and global error handler. So they give so many tricky questions like this: permutation and combination with matching scope, matching error type, and if it is not matching error type. So
Abhishek, one thing you can do in this, go to the is validation, the is number thing,
okay,
go to the mapping, error mapping. So Rajiv, I was talking about this error mapping thing. Okay, where you can map according to your requirement, where specifically it should go. Click again, it will come. Not coming up. Okay, fine. Just from that, choose choose the validation is number one and
yeah,
map it to any. Yeah, save it. It's not coming up.
Hmm.
Any in the latter part, I think you need to mention.
this is the descript ident namespace, and why it is coming like this. I'm not able to move this. Okay,
Try,
let
try,
me.
Zoom
try,
out.
try to minimize your this one. Yeah.
Validation.
Map to any. Put it as any. I think it should be any, or just any. Try
It
it.
should be any only.
Yeah. Now save this. Uh, Now where it should go. So we have a component mapping. Check it. The mapping is coming or not. Go to error mapping again. Yeah. So now what will happen, guys? So we have a mapping saying if validation invalid number is coming, it should go to any. So where it should go? It should go to the flow level where we have a matching case. It should go to the global error handling, or it should go to the default one. Can anyone try?
Should go to the mule default.
Mule default. Okay. Anyone else?
I guess it goes to the triscope error handling one.
I think flow level.
Flow level. Okay. That means default. You are saying okay. Okay. Flow level. You means Naveen for the validation invalid number. That case.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Let's try Abhishek.
Okay,
Okay.
so it went to Mule
It went.
default error handler.
It went to mule default and success. Now see, even though we had a validation is number exception in the flow level, okay, we have any at the global, okay, but the mapping we did for our component level where we have mapped it with a respective error type, which should be an out, that is any. Okay, so it went to the default because default means any. So this is how like it work if you want to do a point to point error mapping. Rajiv, I hope you got it now. Like if you want to specify like, okay, I'm getting this error, it should go to a specific error type only within our
Mhm.
flow level or say global error, whatever it is. So you can do this mapping to make that point to point error handling.
Okay.
Yep.
Abhishek, can you brief about this concept once?
Yes,
Yeah,
I'll cover this in the later part of this presentation.
Okay.
sure.
So yeah, let's come to the slide. So we have seen about the flow level, global, and component level combination also. Now we have a last part of this, which is custom error and raise error component. So, what is a raise error? Sometimes we have a scenario where where we want to explicitly raise error, or we want to stop the flow if certain criteria has not met. So in that case, we use the component raise error. Again, for the raise error, uh, we can handle that error. So so it's like we are explicitly throwing a error in our Mule flow. We are stopping that error and we are handling that error in our Mule programmatically. So you can see in the raise error configuration, we have a type and description. So this description is error dot description. This type is error type, where we have a identifier and namespace. So in raise error component, we can use custom error type only. Use this component only to raise error, core runtime error like Mule connectivity, Mule security, or custom error type. So we will see this. Meanwhile, let me comment with configuration. Okay, so over here, what we have a listener, we have a choice condition where we are checking message.attribute.query parameter dot age. If query param dot age is less than 18, so we are throwing error. So this endpoint we can treat it as a driving whether the particular person is eligible to get the driving license or not by passing the age. So we have this endpoint driving license where we are passing query parameter and we are checking if the age is less than 18, then explicitly we are raising an error with our own error type, which is age, or an identifier as a minor. Or else we can give it as a uh, app, and then also so that we can have all the application custom level error handler as a identifier as a app, and inside that we can give age underscore minor, something like that, anything. This is all customizable, and then we can check that also. So I'll undo this. Yeah, and I think application got deployed. So what will happen? Let's add the breakpoint. Set payload. Yeah, I'll do the set payload. Flow started. Okay, I might need to redeploy it again. Fine, we don't need that as of now. So let me copy the endpoint driving license. So we have a driving license endpoint whether in where we are passing age as a query parameter. Okay, I think I might need to redeploy it. So hope you guys understood about the raise error. And in raise error, if you want, we can give type as a any also or any custom errors, application age minor or age colon minor, which we can handle explicitly in our error handling part, where we can specify type equal to age minor. Cool. Application got deployed. So yeah, the cursor has come, and if we see payload currently is flow started, we have a choice condition. Currently it went to default case because age is not less than 18, and we got user age is above 18 allowed to drive with status code 200. And now if I passing as a 17, so it went to it satisfies the condition, it went to raise error component. If we go next, we have that error object created over here. You can see the description which we have specified in the raise error component. Minimum age is required to drive is 18 with error type equal to age minor. If you maximize if you expand the hierarchy, you can see the parent is any with namespace mule. And if you expand the exception, you can see all the detail about that error, which is same for other error type as well. And now if we finished it, we can see minimum age is required to drive is 18 with 200 http status code, because we have on error continue over here. So that's how you can explicitly raise error, and you can handle that error. And if you want to throw error, you can use propagate. So on error propagate. So we have on error propagate over here. Now we will save it. So anybody can explain what will happen in this case? Anybody want to give a try?
I think it will override that payload.
Uh, Sorry, Suresh, can you explain again? What did you say?
That will override the set payload, like where we mentioned that age minor type.
Okay, yes. And it will throw HTTP status code 500. See, this is on error propagate. We will get 500 with minimum age required to drive is 18 years old. So hope raise error component is you guys got the clarity on raise error component. Okay, cool. Now let's come back to custom errors. So project specific error type can be mapped to the Mule specific error type. Do not use existing Mule namespace. That is one condition. If you use Mule existing namespace, it will throw error. The build itself will fail. So what's the scenario where we need to use where we need to map error? So consider a scenario where when the request comes, we are okay, like this. First we are getting some payload from the request, and then something like that, and then we are having two HTTP components. Now we have a scenario, we have a requirement from the customer is, if from the first response, HTTP response, if that fails with the 500 error message, we should handle, we should do some specific type of operation. And if the second one fails with 500 error message, we should perform another specific type of operation. If for the same HTTP component, if we need to perform two different type of operation for the same type of error, in that case we can use error mapping component. So in error mapping, we can specify HTTP connectivity as equal to app. This namespace can be any. For the standardized way, normally we use Mule or app. My connectivity error, this is my defined error type. And for not found, we have app, my error not found. And same, if we want, you can have a separate error mapping over here, and you can so that your application will handle that error. So is it clear why we use specifically why we use error mapping in our Mule? What's the advantage, or what's the uh, what's the application of error mapping in Mule?
Yeah, so basically it's like on purpose when you want to map to a certain error handler to perform your several different operations with respect to that particular error type. So in that case, you can have that error mapping where you define, okay, it should be on air, continuous or propagate, and what performance it need to do.
Correct. Yes. Like I said, if you are having the two same component, but for one component, for the same if you are having two same components, say HTTP requester, and for both the requester, if you are getting same error type, but you want to perform a different operation for the same for same error type, in that case you can use mapping, where for first one it will map to different error types, so that you can handle that operation explicitly in the error handling part. If it is a single component, then and if it is a single component, and in the same application, if we are having another HTTP requester, um, but in the global error handler, if you want to operate, like I said, if you want to manage both the applications handling error handling part differently, then yes, we use error mapping. Hope this is clear. So I think that's it from this meetup.
So anyone have any question? Please, you can bring it up. You want to try anything? Meanwhile, I will share this links. Let me do that so that you can go through this links, and we are open to take any kind of questions now.